The ending of this movie is without doubt one of the weirdest I have seen. To boot, it is nothing like the end of the Damon Runyon story on which it is based. Let me quote said story. "So I go up to the side of her chair, only figuring that the chances are she wishes to get me close enough to give me a belt with her cane for something I forgot to remember, and she says, 'Kneel down, little pinks.' Well, of course, this is an unusual request, but if there is one thing I am accustomed to from your highness, it is unusual requests. So I kneel down in front of her chair and she reaches out with her cane, but instead of belting me, she taps me on the shoulder with it and says, 'Rise up, little pinks, my brave and true knight. Rise up, and may God bless you forever and always.' Her highness then grants little pinks the first and only kiss they ever share. She says, 'I love you, little pinks,' and then breathes her last. There is no dying on her feet. There is no being carried up the stairway for a last look at the sunset. Only Hollywood could out-schmaltz Damon Runyon. For the record, the short story has a brief epilogue in which Little Pinks sneaks into the room of gangster Case Abels, ties him to the bed, and fractures his spine with a baseball bat. This is something upon which I suspect the production code would not have looked with favor. Well, as you may have figured out by now, my comments are being related in a diluted form of Runyonese, the unique style that makes his work so unique. All of Damon Runyon's stories are told in the historical present tense, a device that gives everything, even flashbacks, a sense of immediacy. And Runyon never allowed his characters to use contractions in their dialogue. No one said, "I can't wait to get a drink." For a Runyon character, the procuring of a libation is a matter of the utmost urgency. This gives his lowlifes a kind of high-toned, street-smart nobility that is irresistible to readers. Damon Runyon describes Little Pinks in these few words: "A busboy in the Canary Club who has a very large nose and a short forehead and who does not weigh more than 90 pounds, apron and all." Casting Elijah Cook Jr. or Percy Hilton might have made Little Pinks's slavish devotion to Her Highness somewhat more believable. My father, of whom I speak on occasion, was San Francisco's version of Damon Runyon, although his beat was limited to professional prize fighting. Every so often he would write a fanciful column about the exploits of a pair of bumbling boxing promoters named Heavy Nose and Benny Forgets. When I asked if these guys were based on real people, he laughed and said, "Nah, I'm just doing a Damon Runyon." And by way of explanation, he handed me his collection of Damon Runyon favorites, which I still have to this day. 16 of Runyon's stories have been made into movies, including Lady for a Day, Little Miss Marker, and Pocketful of Miracles. Although he gave up drinking early in his career, Runyon powered through life fueled by endless cups of coffee, each one accompanied by a cigarette. The operation for throat cancer in 1944 left him unable to speak, but since he was a writer, that did not slow him down. The dead stop came suddenly on December 10th, 1946. Not long after, Runyon's pal, famed aviator Eddie Rickenbacker, flew a DC-3 over Midtown Manhattan and scattered the writer's ashes over the streets he had immortalized. That such a stunt was illegal made it all the more Runyon-esque. Well, that will do it. I hope all you Jakes and Judys will join me back at Bar 355 next week for a gangster saga from the mid-50s starring Richard Conte, Anne Bancroft, and Broderick Crawford. New York Confidential. Until then, see you in the shadows.